No, it'd just be a waste of time to wonder about things that don't make sense. More importantly, I learned something because of this manga. The reserve department. That department was only built to collect money. I was one of those reserve corps students, right?
But hold on.
That's weird. Oh, you're here again.
Shing!
The thing that's weird is you, of course. Huh?
Hey!
Why did you forget that you were part of the reserve department? The Future Foundation only took away your school life memories, right? But you should have known even before you entered that you had no talent, right? So, I think it's weird that you actually forgot something like that too. What do you want me to say?
By the way...
Based on my assumption, the Future Foundation must have wanted to hide the fact that you were one of those reserve corps students.
I got it!
Or you willingly sealed those memories yourself. Huh? You wanted to be confident in yourself, so you wanted to forget everything that embarrassed you. You know, when humans experience trauma, sometimes they erase their memory of what happened. It happens pretty often. Now that I've known anything about that though. Are you saying it's my fault I forgot? That's not it.
Come on!
When things get inconvenient, you always get angry and try to brush it off. Well, that's expected of a reserve corps student. Damn it, what the heck? Whoa! It's an actual investigation. Holy shit. Okay, I'm just gonna pass through this, man. Okay. I don't think there's anything important here. Okay, let's get out of here. Okay, that's closed. Oh, Kazuichi.
What's going on?
This hallway is kinda creepy. I can't go to places that I should be able to go. It's like some rule is being enforced for no reason. It's like there's an invisible wall or something. Okay, I think we've got one here. This is the... Oh no, it's freaking close. The bio lab. Okay, I think that's it for this place. Ah, here. Classroom 5A. Okay, this is another manga. It's laying on top of the desk. This one is Manga for Morons, the Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy, huh? Wasn't the Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy mentioned in that other manga too? It's why Hope's Peak Academy went bankrupt, and it was the trigger for the biggest, most tragic, most awful event in human history. If I read this manga, will I be able to learn a little more about the incident? I took the manga from the desk and started flipping through the pages to see what I could learn about the event known as the Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. The story made heavy use of outdated stylized drawings depicting characters solving mysteries. What's written here is, as the name suggests, the Tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy occurred at Hope's Peak Academy. The key player in that event was a student named Izuru Kamakura. Izuru was a genius known as a symbol of hope. Hope's Peak Academy used all their resources to develop him. Supposedly, Izuru was a genius among geniuses and possessed various talents. Wielding superior talent for the hope of mankind, the Academy referred to Izuru as the ultimate hope. To protect such rare talent, the Academy completely concealed all evidence of Izuru's origins and identity. Because of that, most of the students at the Academy were completely unaware of Izuru's existence. But Izuru was known as a symbol of hope, was responsible for a horrible incident. 13 students of Hope's Peak Academy Student Council, among the Academy's best and brightest, were brutally murdered by Izuru. However, the incident did not end there. The Academy tried to protect Izuru's superior talent and concealed the incident as though it never happened. However, a certain student began working in secret to use that incident to their advantage. That student uncovered what the Academy did, and by making that knowledge public, it stoked the fires of Reserve Corps students who had long been dissatisfied with how they've been treated. And the uprising began, and that heralded Hope's Peak Academy's destruction. This is the entirety of the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Eventually, that incident would lead to that horrifying, devastating incident. The incident that would be known as the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. Works cited Danganronpa 0. What? With a heavy sigh, I closed the manga. Am I supposed to believe this? There's no way 13 people were killed at Hope's Peak Academy. What irony! For a genius known as Ultimate Hope to cause such gruesome incident, a talent like that is too regal for society. It's like trying to buy juice with a bar of gold. You should be lucky that you're incompetent. Damn it, he always has to lead up to something offensive. He seriously pisses me off. But Ultimate Hope. Nagito mentioned that before too, but it looks like it means something completely different here. What Nagito said was the true meaning of hope, but for Izuru, hope simply means talent. More importantly, a genius who possesses various talents. I wish they'd given me one of those talents, so I didn't have to be in the reserve department. That's right, the reserve department. Here, it said that the Reserve Corps students in the reserve department began uprising. Then what about me? Was I a participant too? No, that's not possible. There's no way. I have no reason to do something like that. Okay. Anyway, I've learned about the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy, but the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history is a far worse incident, right? What kind of incident was it? And who's this other student that isn't Izuru? A certain student who secretly used the incident to their advantage. Who is that? This incident is really messed up, but all it's doing is raising more questions. The mysteries just keep piling up. Okay, let's get out of here. I think we've got only one more left. And that's the history for the tragedy. Now, where would that be? Just a quick circle around here. Okay, Kazuichi's gone already. And then the bio room. I think this would be open. Okay. What the hell is with this room? It's freaking cold in here. It's like I'm in a freezer or something. If I just stand still, I might end up freezing to death. I should hurry up and investigate so I can get out of here already. Okay, what's this one? There's another manga just laying around here. This time, the title is Manga for Morons, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. I knew it. The next one would obviously be about this incident. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history, huh? Just what was that incident really all about? It might turn out to be something lame. I flipped through the pages of the manga and hoped that I was right. A story about creepily drawn characters who get involved in such horrifying incidents. An incident known as the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. Is this drawn so grotesquely because the incident itself is that grotesque? Anyway, the beginning of this creepy manga starts with this sentence. The tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy was simply the trigger. At first, the uprising by the Reserve Corps students that triggered the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy was initially hoped to be resolved quickly, but the situation continued to escalate to dangerous extremes. The movement started spreading all over the internet and fostered a thriving online community. The community was not limited to students, and people of various races and nations began joining in. But the movement was not confined to the internet and began spreading and eroding the real world. When the movement started, it was that indistinguishable from any other demonstration inspired by social unrest. But as it spread across the world, a certain abnormalities soon came to light. But by then it was too late. The ends of the means had vanished, and wanton destruction became their only goal. The strong butchered the weak killed the weakest among them, and soon the weak formed factions to brutally murder the strong. As the violence and death continued to spread, the shock of their actions began to disappear, as if the era was regressing to more uncivilized times, with senseless deaths were the norm. The media was oversaturated with deaths to the point where people would watch them while enjoying a meal. By the time the world realized what had become, it was too late to stop what had happened. A feeling of immense despair began spreading and eventually engulfed the world. Acts of terrorism and coup d'etats began occurring around the world, a war waged in the name of despair. A war fought not for principles, religion, or personal gain. Just war. Pure war. And because of that, there was no way to resolve it. How could a movement started by high school students progress to such a hopeless scenario? The only explanation is the existence of a certain organization devoted to a certain student who influenced Hope's Peak Academy, a group called Ultimate Despair. Instead of using Hope's Peak Academy's talents for the sake of mankind's hope, they used them for the sake of mankind's despair. Key members of society used their influence to brainwash the masses in order to spread despair. Tech-savvy computer programmers wrote software to spread despair. The powerful and influential created new values and morals to spread despair. And with this, they created the tragedy, the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. As long as ultimate despair exists, the despair engulfing the world will never end. The tragedy will never end. My heart was racing in my chest, but my body felt ice cold. What it wasn't and it wasn't because I was freezing in this room. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. This is definitely all made up. I mean, if this is really true, then what's happening in the outside world? My family, my friends, the convenience store I frequent, the nearby bookstore, my favorite restaurant. What's happened to them?
No way!
Hey, are you seriously yelling at the manga? How crazy are you? Who would enjoy reading something like that?
What?
Oh my, you don't like manga? A high school student who doesn't like manga is like an office lady who doesn't like to eat candy. Enough, what is this messed up manga? I thought you'd obviously know about such a horrible event that destroyed the world, but for you not to remember that, such despair. That's the Future Foundation's fault. Though, thanks to them stealing your school memories, the incident that happened during the period has been completely removed from your brains. This incident really happened, and I actually forgot about it? There's no way that's possible.
What are you saying?
How many times do I have to tell you? All the clues are real.
Hello.
Please understand, I'm rooting for you. If you don't learn about the full extent of the outside world, you guys will suffer for it. I just want to help you guys so you can live well-adjusted lives in the outside world. I see, so that's how it is. That's what he meant by what he said at the beginning. He's trying to make us feel despair toward the outside world, so we'll want to stay on this island. But there's no way I'm going to do what he wants. Despair like that simply can't exist. The outside world should be filled with hope. Just like now. Perhaps, no, that's definitely it. Okay. Whether or not this incident really happened, what in the world is the ultimate despair group? If they're devoted to a certain student who guided Hope's Peak Academy to its destruction, are they connected to both the tragedy and the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy? Plus, that organization isn't just one person, but a group of people. But if they're known as Ultimate Despair, they're high school students, right? Well, if they were actually able to do it, then I guess that's why they were called Ultimates. Then, are the killings were involved in connected to them as well? It's no use, I'm going to freeze to death. I'm at my limit, I need to get out of here. Shivering, I ran out of the freezing room. Well, why didn't you freaking get out of there in the first place? That was close, I nearly froze to death. So where should I go next? Okay, I think everything is now closed. Yeah, everything is closed now. Here. Classroom B. Okay. No, I should ignore it. I'm just going to pretend I didn't see him.
Jeez.
When I went inside his room, that bastard bear was suddenly here. He keeps glancing at me. I wonder why. It's gonna be shitty either way.
Damn right.
So I let you handle it. There's no way I'm gonna deal with that idiot. I don't want to do that either. Okay, no choice.
Hiya.
Why, hello, Hajime. I hope you're doing pleasantly well. Are you pleasingly well? Come on. What are you doing here?
No.
Well, there was another thing I need to tell you on this floor. I got bored of drawing manga. Can you forgive me for telling you by word of mouth? You should have done that from the beginning. I don't want to read your manga in the first place. A high school student who doesn't like manga is like a sumo wrestler who doesn't like eating hot pots. I'm getting really fed up with your blabbling. Hurry up, what did you need to tell me? It's about the key piece of transformation, key piece of information you've been waiting so long for.
What?
Surprise, it's the ultimate despair. Huh? Even though the term ultimate despair refers to a group these days,
Actually,
it was originally the title for a high school girl who was the most powerful, evil, and feared person alive. Okay. That's from the first game. A high school girl,
yes indeed.
Lady Junko Inoshima. Oh man, it brings me back memories. Junko was ultimate despair in the first game. Junko Inoshima.
Hey,
As the former ultimate despair, she created a despair brimming with charm and humor, and created the ultimate despairs. There was one really horrible person in that group.
Don't fuck with me!
Hold on a sec. I don't know what that ultimate despairs are, but it's not that easy to form an organization. There's no way people would join some fuck-up organization created by a high school girl.
Unbelievable.
Humans who are obsessed with their philosophy have an uncanny power to attract others. It's a trait shared by famous leaders throughout the history, right? There's nothing strange about it.
Hey,
That holds true for Lady Junko. With her charismatic ability to attract people, she even influenced those in the highest echelons of power. Her connections were the main reason that incident became the tragedy in the first place. So she even recruited people who would have been in a position to neutralize the threat.
Huh?
Then what was their purpose?
huh?
What? Like I said, why did they cause that incident? It doesn't even make sense. They had a purpose, right? There's no way they'd do what they did without any purpose.
Hey,
It was Junko's Inoshima's despair. Huh? For Junko, despair isn't about purpose, a set of principles, a way of life, or an instinct. Despair is what defines Junko as Junko. What are you saying? I'm a stuffed plushie. Hajime is a human. It's exactly like that. Junko is full of so much despair that she's truly hopeless. Living, dying, eating, loving, for her everything is despair. What the hell? With her overwhelming force of personality, Junko recruited the ultimate despairs, one by one. She controlled their despair by taking advantage of their love, hate, grudges, anything really. Junko's despair is far more dreadful than any other. That idea had been slammed right into their minds. And so, the ultimate despairs who had been recruited become nothing more than Junko's limbs. All despair, whether it was their own or anyone else, was dedicated to Junko Inoshima, like believers making offerings to their god, like a mother providing food to her children. They dedicated all despair so they could escape from despair, all in Junko's name. For example, they killed their families and friends, and even destroyed their bodies through relentless mutilation. And to hopelessly top it off, they completely believe it was something that they had to do. There's no way something that crazy is possible. Do you know about the final days of the Reserve Corps students during the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy? Final days.
in other words,
Junko has the power to change people's values. This is also true of famous people throughout history. Hey, what do you mean final days? What happened to the reserve department?
of course.
They fulfilled their role as disposable limbs. They believe in what they needed to do. And so, the 2,357 students of the reserve department all committed mass suicide. Mass suicide?
What'd you say?
Oops, it wasn't all of them. One person was excluded. Aw man, don't tell me I was the one. One person was excluded, huh? Is that me?
Damn it!
I don't believe it. There's no way I can believe this. Ultimate despair, Junko Inoshima? Heh, it doesn't scare me at all. I mean,
Bastard!
Junko Inoshima is already dead. Wait, why does Fuyuhiko know that? Huh? Ultimate Despair. Yeah, that's Junko, alright. Reserve Department, okay. Wait, how did Fuyuhiko know, man? Hey Fuyuhiko, is it true what you said? Junko Inoshima is really dead?
Huh?
What? You didn't see? There was a book called Manga for Morons, Killing School Life. Ah, in that bloody classroom. Okay. A bloody classroom? No, wait. What was that you said about the killing school life? Like the killings we were involved in, they were killings that happened at Hope's Peak Academy. As I recall, the mastermind took her own life because the remaining students worked together to defeat her.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. The killing school life ended up failing in the end. As a result, 6 students who survived managed to escape from the academy.
Hey,
For a manga about killing school life, it was drawn with a lot of silly images and dumb gags. According to that, the mastermind behind the failed killing school life was Junko Inoshima. The mastermind took her own life, which means Junko Inoshima is dead?
like,
It turns out the killing school life was part of that whole biggest most awful whatever incident. Junko took away the memories of former students of Hope's Peak Academy and forced them to kill each other. Former students of Hope's Peak Academy, and she took away their memories. That's just like us. Apparently, the whole thing was being filmed by surveillance cameras and broadcast worldwide. There's a limit to being cruel asshole. The surveillance cameras were broadcasting the whole thing?
so.
The students of Hope's Peak Academy are widely known as symbol of hope. By forcing people to watch the symbols of hope kill each other for the sake of survival, they were trying to fill everyone who watched the broadcast with despair all at once. That's messed up. But that messed up plan was stopped. Junko Inoshima failed. Junko lost to the students she placed in her trap, and after being overcome by despair she created, she took her own life. Then Junko is no more. No matter how horrible she was, there's no reason to fear someone who's dead. Whether Monokuma's story is true or not doesn't matter.
Bastard!
Junko isn't alive anymore. Then, who is our enemy? If Junko is already dead, are the rest of the ultimate despairs behind this? Are the followers of Junko carrying out her will? That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, the killings were involved in resemble the killing school life. Well, I don't know who the hell is imitating Junko and making us go through this, but an imitation is just that, an imitation.
No shit!
If the students from Hope's Peak Academy stop the real deal, there's no way we'll lose to some fake. But if this is really an imitation, are those surveillance cameras the same too? The cameras all over Jabberwock Island? Are they broadcasting to somewhere, just like the surveillance cameras during the killing school life? Okay, we've got a lot of truth bullets now. Okay. Man, Hajime, you totally know about that story, huh? What? Do you have a problem with that? Well, I really wanted you to read the manga version since I took the time to draw it.
What are you gonna do?
Oh well, I'll just raise the flag. Flag? What do you mean, raise the flag? What's going to happen if you do that?
Ooh,
One step at a time. You're getting closer to clearing my character, Ruth. You're not making sense again.
well now.
Now then, I'll give you guys my all. I'll tell you everything I know, including information on the outside and in the inside. I'll raise them flags like crazy. Okay, man, what the heck is happening now? Where am I supposed to go now?